All right.
Okay. Hi, welcome everybody to the July 18th meeting of MNRCC. Thank you for taking time on your busy day to be here. And so we have a quorum now, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you for everyone who's helping us to make a quorum. So I will first ask for the approval of the agenda for today. I'll make the motion. Anyone second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we need to approve the May 18th agenda. I'll make a motion to do that. Second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Against? All right, we got that done. Then we have the, why don't we just do them all at one time? All the agendas-
Unanimous consent.
Yeah, by unanimous consent.
Everything on the
Okay,
agenda.
unanimous consent is
Great.
done, all right. So my chair's report with the colorful picture of the new engines which are coming to us soon, maybe as soon as early next year. It's actually an engine that, even before I became a board member, when I was attending the meetings as our representative with Oren Guess, who was vice chair, we advocated for those engines, and lo and behold, we decided to buy them. So anyway, the engine is here. There isn't much else to add to the agenda, thankfully. Yesterday there were floods on the Hudson line, but they didn't affect you. 'Cause you
Well,
came later.
I took the 722 train out of Great Central and we got through with no trouble at all. It was all taken care of by that time.
I heard reports of delays this morning as well, from the tree down.
Oh, okay.
It was a heck of a storm. I was in Central Park. We were evacuated at 9 p.m.
I'm sorry?
I was in Central Park. We were evacuated at 9 p.m. I was very pleasantly surprised that there were no disruptions either on the Lex or Harlem line.
My husband was in City Field and they,
Foo Fighters.
yeah, well, food, it was basically food.
Wow.
Because they rain delayed at 9:30 and canceled at 10:30.
We got half of the saw doctors.
You saw it.
Well,
You saw it, you boo.
yesterday we were on a trip to Philadelphia, and luckily, with all the threats that New Jersey Transit sent out in their text and in email alerts, everything worked perfectly. Although today they sent out an alert and they canceled trains across all the lines except for the Port Jervis line, because there isn't too much to cancel 13 trains. But they did, we did sacrifice one Pascack Valley line inbound train this morning, and one will be canceled this afternoon.
So there's been a lot of speculation about that. So I took Amtrak down to Washington on Monday and back on Tuesday, and got the alerts that trains might be running slower. I was all prepared. I brought an extra change of clothes. I was prepared to be stranded or have to find another way home. And everything ran smoothly, but there are questions abound about why New Jersey Transit and Amtrak are having those issues when none of the other systems have similar infrastructure are having the same issues.
Well, I think it's the overhead wires from what I'm hearing. It's an old system that they have there that was built in the 1930s. And it really hasn't been upgraded. In some places it has been, but in a lot of places it has not been. I think that's with the terribly hot weather, the wires start to sag, and they really need to rebuild that whole thing, but.
When your time at Metro North and beyond it, they rebuilt the entire catenary.
They rebuilt the catenary.
On the
Yeah.
New Haven line.
Oh, we know,
Yeah.
New Haven,
Yeah,
yes,
New
yes.
Haven.
That's what
About
they
the
should
same.
do.
It was about the same age.
That's right, and that's what they should be doing on the Northeast Corridor. Put in the system that is on the New Haven, which is the European system with the weights and pulleys. But they've never done that. They have not got the money to do it, obviously.
And it took Metro North, I thought it took forever to do it, but they
Yeah, it
did.
took a long time.
Well, in the New York portion is not that large. It's from like Mount Vernon.
Westchester,
But the Connecticut part took a lot longer to get done. But now that it's done, and all the inconvenience that commuters suffered those years, it's paying back dividends now.
From this committee's perspective, though, you know, because I've also heard reports from the New Jersey Transit, they complain about staffing as well as staffing as well as infrastructure being a problem. I just want to clarify, it sounds like we are not seeing any kind of discriminatory activity against New York riders. It seems like.
Right, it's system wide.
Not yet.
Well, that's not, I think we have on, right?
But we don't get impacted by the overhead wires, they're not trains, they're all diesel trains, of course.
Yeah.
Up on the Jersey trains.
I mean, they've also spoken about the heat in the tracks.
Right.
And that is certainly something we've heard in the committee meetings and over the last years, and, it's, you know, I'm surprised, frankly, that there hasn't been more heat-related track, failure or incidents. Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, Universe.
I got some kind of a message this morning from New Jersey Transit, basically saying they may have to curtail, so eliminate some trains.
Yeah, I sent that out.
Supposedly, I think due to lack of air conditioning in some of the cars, some of the coaches, they're not gonna run a train with hot cars. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense in this weather. But again, staffing, I think, is probably the issue there, that they're not maintaining it properly if they don't have the.
Yesterday afternoon, they were handing out water at Hoboken.
Really?
Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Was it in the New Jersey Transit water bottle?
No, it was not. They had garbage cans filled with ice and water bottles, and they were pulling.
What time was that?
I was there, and it was about 4:30.
Because I got the 5:35 or so from Caucus, and they weren't getting anything out of it. I was glad the train came.
Yeah, we early.
Maddie, is this related to that?
You mean to New Jersey Transit?
Well, to the heat and to service changes?
No, not this time.
You muted yourself, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry about that. I'll wait till the end.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we just have to keep our fingers crossed, and the weather should have broken already, I didn't see, but it did very much, but
Well, it's only in the 80s.
only in the 80s, is correct. All right, if there's nothing else on my chair's report.
Well, the chairman's report, just wanted to ask you, these are the Siemens Charger locomotives, are they not?
Yeah,
Which are basically the same ones that Amtrak has,
correct.
and is getting more of, and Via Rail also, except they'll be dual mode, so that's basically the same locomotive, okay?
Now, Randy, in terms of the pausing of congestion pricing and the delays to the capital program, I know that there's been a shift in options on different train cars and purchases and rolling stock. Have these been affected at all?
They weren't mentioned at all in the presentation they gave us at the meeting at CPC last month.
I think that they are, it's still, it's a shell game. They're still trying to, the MTA Capital is still trying really hard to figure out what they're gonna do with what they've got. The hole in the budget is only getting bigger over time. And today, every day there's a post on Streets blog, and today they said,
Bus service, because they
No,
don't hire all the
no.
time. Oh.
today, more than $50 million in total revenue is not being used to fund public transportation. And more than 2 million cars have not been removed from the congestion zone after 19 days of congestion pricing. So every day that goes further, more money is being siphoned off, lost from the capital program. So it went from being a $15 billion hole to $16.5 billion projection at this point, and we're in July, so we're 18 days on. I think we're gonna continue to hear more about what that means. We'd asked for a presentation for us at different councils about what projects are gonna be affected, and we're told that they're just not ready to talk about it. They don't know. They're still figuring it out. They're still, we'll know more in 2 weeks what the effect on the operating budget is. But I do know that there have been some changes that they're making to free up some funding in the capital program allocation to take it from specific options in some instances to allow them to use it for whatever they need at the time, which will not affect the bond rating, because they'll still have some money to do emergency repairs, like there's no substation to accommodate power on the, on the 4 lines that failed the other day, or the signals that are 25 or 30 years past due to be replaced, or as Jano mentioned at yesterday's press conference, the resiliency work on the Hudson line. If that needs some emergency work, that they want to have the emergency money available, plus also the state of good repair funding available that's not locked into specific projects. So I say that we should be cautiously optimistic that we're going to see those continue.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, one observation I'll make is that, congestion pricing was passed in 2019 for a 2020 to 2024 capital plan.
Mm-hmm.
We are very close to the end of 2024. I don't think any conversations have been had on the 25 to 29 capital plan.
Right.
And so, and I also believe, and I've seen this number, but I don't know if it's confirmed, that the actual contracting and spending under the 2020 to 2024 capital plan is far short of what was authorized, even before the impact of congestion pricing. So the question, that 2019 conversation happened in Albany.
Yeah.
And so the question is, where is the governor and where is the legislature on thinking about the next 5 years?
They're absent until next January.
So the governor is sneaking around the back door of the Hearst building where there was a group of people standing in front of at the front door waiting for her. And right, literally,
Because it made perfect sense for her to be interviewed by
sneaking
the
around the
Albany
back door.
and at the first
He used to
Right.
keep saying things like that, he never get into a board.
I know. But you're exactly right. So, I think that one of the best kept secrets in business was that congestion pricing was for the 2024 plan. And, the money doesn't always exactly line up about what's being spent when, but in terms of what needs to be spent and what's left. And, something that it's become a vast realization is we collectively need to do a better job of educating both ourselves and other people about how the budget works, what it takes to spend a capital budget, but also what it means to create one. So even as we're continuing to press the fact that there is an answer to to filling the budget hole for this rest of this plan, and it's called congestion pricing, and it's the law, and it's not just a good idea. And it will address things like helping to address the air quality issues, reduce traffic, which is at over 2019, more than 2019 capacity, and also have the, raise the funding. We need to look for for a sustainable, reliable, dedicated funding source, not just for the next capital program, but for going forward. And one of the things that the team has done, we have done, which when I say we, I mean the amazing team at PCAC has done, is pulled together all of the things that the elected officials and others have said about, why don't we just do this, and why don't we just do that, and made it a really nice spreadsheet on, but is it bondable? You can't bond an IOU, right? But and station naming, that's swell, but you're gonna get like $200,000 for that, right? If you go with baseline of Atlantic Terminal, Barclays Center. And some of the other ideas are not bad, but we need them for the future. And there are some other, we can't just look insularly. We have to look across the United States and also internationally about what other places are doing, how they're raising money, what their problems and issues are, and how we can collaborate, not just on the advocacy side, but on the government side. And so we're actively engaged in conversations about that, and we'll we will not have the answers, but we will definitely have the questions.
I think that's great. I mean, the only other thing that's also contributed on the other side of the coin is that, it's my personal opinion, is that the 2020 to 2024 capital plan was a no bad news capital plan. Part of that conversation in 2019, every project got put into that capital plan, and there was really not a lot of prioritization going on. And I think, regardless of what happens in the next plan, there's going to have to be more prioritization.
Oh,
and there are
plus
probably
one.
going to be people.
No, they've done it already. They've already.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
What I'm suggesting is we don't necessarily trust how they do it. That we another thing for this wonderful staff to do. That we get involved in communicating what's the priority for the riders, and that might mean that some of the expansion projects are a lower priority because we need to serve the needs of the current system. As one example.
Absolutely, state of good repair and safety have to be job one, but also looking at advancing ridership and access through an equity lens are also critical. So, the Interborough Express is like, no, I know, but if you look at a map of where the subway system and the even the one on railroad go in Brooklyn and Queens, it's empty. And there's not a great, it's a subway desert, and then a train desert, a rail desert. And the Interborough Express would help address that. And the governor loves it, so, maybe that is the pushback, is you can't have it unless you, address all these other things first. That's not the first priority. So then you have to fix buses and you have to fix the other services. But absolutely. And one of the things that will help with that is a more transparent MTA. And, we work with some of the good government groups like Reinvent Albany, who called the last capital plan, you get a pony, you get a pony, right? And it was kind of like that. And with the Citizens Budget Commission and the city's independent budget office to really look at some of the more transparent needs of organizations like ours to be able to make recommendations and speak to elected officials who do trust the advocacy and informed and knowledgeable groups like ours. But yeah, I think that the ramp up to the next capital program was not just, here's our wish list, here's our wish list, here's our wish list, look, here's the plan. It's a beautiful book, right? It started with Andy Byford's fast forward plan, which was great. But that's a vision. It's not a program of projects. And then that led the way for the other, for the railroads. But that's a vision and not a program of projects. And what they've done now is a much more analytic approach, which unfortunately means that not some of the things we do want done are not gonna be done because they may not reach the same ridership or be the same level of priority or bring in the same revenue. But it's still, it's hard to gauge, there's no column that says meets equity, air quality, and, transit desert goals. So maybe there should be.
So also, it's just in my mind. Before I'm thinking about it, thanking the staff for trying to get rider representation 1.0 through the Assembly and the Senate. So I guess there'll be a 2.0 and with lessons learned.
Yes.
We had
We're reaching out to people still.
We had a Zoom call with one of the electeds who represents constituency in the Hudson Valley, who thought it was a nice idea, but as long as the Hudson Valley official board members have only 1/4 of a vote, he did not feel that he could support this, giving us rider reps 1 vote. So it has to get smoothed out. But that takes care of that one. There was something else I should have written down. I didn't, but I'll come back to it later. So I guess you want to go to talk about our trip next month?
Sure, should we do the social media?
Yeah,
Whatever you want.
alrighty, so, to start, as always, the railroad got several requests to bring back quiet cars or,
I don't know how to move the screen.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible, Jack. So,
should I can stand above you or
yeah,
something?
might as well.
Like, I need like a podium or something.
Soapbox.
Hi, everyone. This is so strange. All right, several requests to bring back quiet cars. A rider reached out to Metro North flagging that the door to the track 2 platform in Garrison was locked. So access was restricted to one slow elevator. The railroad staff replied within 24 minutes and said that they contacted the station staff, which was good. Several riders stated their frustrations with a hot car that had no AC, which I personally experienced on the subway the other day. Another rider encountered what they described as absolutely disgusting bathrooms on a 902 train from Stamford to Grand Central. And hopefully that's something that the QR codes in the bathrooms can help prevent in the future.
Is that on Metro North as well?
It will be.
Yeah.
By the end of this month.
And they said they're doing it on the train sooner at some point. Another rider complained about the high cost of transferring from the LIWR to Metro North. The railroad pointed them towards the combo ticket, which allows transfers for a flat fee of $8. Finally, there have been several complaints from passengers about taking up extra seats, both with their bodies and also with their luggage.
Actually, it's by late July, early August, it should be on Metro North. Okay. All right, anything else before we go to the next one? Okay. Okay, our August field trip,
Mhm.
which is August the 15th.
August 15th. So we have 2 staff members out of the office that day.
Oh, wow, so you want to make it the
I don't know, so I don't think we'll know for some time whether or not if the MTA board is gonna have, a meeting in August,
that would be the following week.
the following week, right? But we have had we have certainly had field trips without staff before, I know that Jack really wants to go on that.
Oh, yes.
All right, so let's give us a different date then.
Maybe,
The date is, we can change it.
What about like August 8th?
no, that we're holding that, how about August 7th,
It's just,
a Wednesday?
sure, I'm good.
Well, we have a hold on the calendar for that day for the New York neighbors thing.
But we also have a hold for the 6th.
Yeah, it's like
What time is
it's a
that?
2 half-day thing.
I thought they set the date.
They did, yeah.
Which
They
day?
New Jersey
But
something.
they didn't give a time, but they gave the dates. It's the 6th and the 7th. It's 2 half-day things.
I like that.
I know.
Can you do that again?
I'm like,
How's that gonna be put in the minutes?
what?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we'll need to go to everything, but we just don't know it's gonna be happening now, so maybe one day we'll do that. What about a Monday, like the 5th?
No,
That's easy.
And where will we be going?
we're looking at
Your neck of the woods.
Harriman TOD. Harrison, sorry.
I've already scheduled my life around being there on the 15th, so
Okay.
if it's not near the 15th, I won't be able to go, but you guys go ahead.
we are scheduled, I mean, it's for the 15th. We can always go another time, fellas. So, I mean, we'll keep it the 15th. Okay.
So who we losing? Oh, you're busy. I'll see you guys.
If we go early, I might be able to.
All right. I'm gonna be on the whole thing.
Pick a date when most of the people can go. I mean, I have the 15th blocked out, but don't exclude other people for me. So pick a date where most people can go.
How is the 14th?
I have another.
Okay, well, let's keep the 15th, and we'll see if we can get somebody from TOD to meet us that day, right? Because we'd want that.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Maybe some local officials, like all the town.
I actually was there when they had the
The shovel,
Shovel.
groundbreaking.
groundbreaking.
Alright. So we'll reach out about that to see if that's a date that works for the TOD folks. If there's people there that we can meet with too. Okay. I see that Maddie has been waiting. Maddie?
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Lisa. Is anyone welcome to come, or is this going to be exclusively to only PCAC members?
It's generally a members field trip because of access to places that
Restricted.
need to be vetted, that are restricted. So
So I guess you have to have certain credentials, in my opinion. All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'm sorry about that. And Maddie, you had a question from earlier as well.
Yeah, in relation to the reporter Randy's congested pricing in effect, because we have to look at other cities of how they do, because we know like cities such as London and Stockholm already have a congestion pricing, and for some of it for over 10 years. We have to learn from them what we could do, because this should have been in effect already.
You're right.
This
Yeah,
is all,
you know.
all by politics, that's why.
One of the things that's interesting, that we've learned that some folks may not have learned is about related to the polling and the polling numbers, is that congestion pricing and concordant pricing and it does not poll well before it's implemented, and that after it's implemented, the poll numbers improve. So because people, after they get used to it, like it, or learn to love it. Like an arrangement.
Absolutely.
So,
Like the Affordable Care Act, remember that? Everyone hated it, now everyone wants it.
yeah,
The flip side is something that I learned that I was not aware of prior to the process is the fees in both Stockholm and London are substantially lower than what was talked about in New York.
well, they are now, but they weren't when they started.
Right.
They've cut them already?
But they've adapted them, and that's one of the things that New York was looking
Yeah.
at, was, this is what it's.
But it does go back to the dual mandate, right, of having to raise revenue as well as manage congestion.
Right, but also to limit the number of exemptions, because people who live in the Corden in London are exempt. Or they have some exemptions, and they increased the number of exemptions. But they, one of the things that the MTA was required to do was to review and adapt after a period of time. So, you attended a lot of hearings, right? They looked at six,
No, I mean, like,
a
I
bunch of
think,
different,
given what they
Yeah.
were, I 100% support what they did, and I think they did a natural job meeting the mandate, and I think the environmental impacts. I think one of the real risks here, and would be a tragedy, is if all the work going into the environmental impact statement is disrupted because of a major substantive change to the program.
or a substitute change in Washington.
Also true.
And that's a real risk.
Yeah, very much.
We are in favor of having the governor announce it on pause date of on or before December 1st. So that it's
Say.
Yeah.
Secure.
it's a real risk. So,
Okay, so Executive Director report.
Okay, well, I've pretty much been giving it as we speak. We have been, by we again, I mean staff, really focused on how do we continue presence, not just for ourselves, but the conversation of congestion pricing alive and in the same vein that it's been. And we've been working very closely with our partners in advocacy and also with elected officials. This is really critical, this is really important, this is not just about money, it's about a lot more. And we need to also look to the future. So that the work that's been done is, as the conversations continue with us and others, the work that's being done is looking at ways to sort of show, as I mentioned, the spreadsheet of sensical and nonsensical recommendations. Maybe that's what we call it, right?
Great ideas.
Yeah. Working with some partners that we don't even usually work with to talk about some, facts and fictions surrounding it in the job creation and economic development sphere. And working, to just keep alive the concerns and issues that buyers have, which is easy these days because something happens every day. That's related to something that's old, something that's broken, and something that we're never gonna see that's new, or that we may never see that's new. So, that's an ongoing practice, and even as we're doing that, Jack is looking to the next legislative calendar of how we bring forth not just the Rider Rep Act, but also the Fairs Act and the other priorities that we raised last year.
And we got up to 120%?
145%, so Fair Fares was raised at the city level from 120% to 145. It's kicking and screaming, dragging it, but it's getting there. Right, so it's that's a real effort, but it's keeping going. And the next big thing we really think needs to be to bring it onto the railroads within the city. And as we look to the next fare change, which will be coming up.
End of the year,
Yeah.
hearings,
We wanna also make sure that the spotlight stays on, on a city ticket, weekly or monthly, an integrated ticket so that you can transfer subways and buses. And the improvements that we've talked about, and looking at expanding that into some suburban pockets, or expanding fares into some suburban pockets that have real economic need. If we know of someone on Long Island for sure, and are gonna, reach out and talk about where that might be. There's some in Westchester for sure also. So there will be a change in leadership in Westchester County. So I don't know how much of a change in leadership, but if somebody's just gonna move, scooch their chair down the hall, or if it's a whole
Are
new.
there candidates announced for Westchester County?
The expectation is the deputy county executive will.
Oh, okay.
It's subject to a vote by the
Ken
legislature.
Jenkins.
Yes, there's gonna be a special election within 90 days of the vacancy.
Okay.
So that'll be it.
Probably March.
And
Yeah,
Monday
he's not
Jones
up for
isn't gonna
election.
run against him.
I'm sorry?
Monday Jones won't run against him.
Surprise.
Yeah. Right.
It's moving back.
Right.
Yeah.
Alright,
I'm not gonna.
figure out where the fire alarms are in that building too.
You're thinking of all of it.
Oh, yes, I am. So, right, so we'll see, to be continued, but there's, we're looking at funding needs, which are looking at the same issues that we were looking at last year, which we had some success in. Looking also though, now that we're going to have a whole new operating budget also because of the issues related to the capital budget. So the financial issues are gonna be coming back around to haunt us. As we enter a mayoral election year. So there will be a lot of people who are continuing to raise a bunch of different issues, I'm sure, around transit in the city and around, outside too. Like, why is New York City the only one who's paying a payroll mobility tax?
And the suburban, we had a state senator who got rid of that from a lot of years ago.
Do you guys want to add some stuff?
Yeah, just really briefly, I was really happy to go to the sort of celebration of the full funding grant agreement for the Hudson Tunnel project, talking about West of Hudson projects. I mean, apart from being the largest, single grant from US DOT in its history, I think the real win was having the project funded over 70% federal aid. Far cry from the usual 50-50 split for a project like that. And I hope that will be, a template for the other pieces of Gateway moving forward, and perhaps some of the MTA projects moving forward.
That's secured and locked in and no change.
It is, yeah, signed, sealed, delivered, it's done, so.
And Schumer brought a bag of cherries. There's a cherry on top, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. But so that was great, and we'll keep updated on more exciting phase 2 projects like Bergen Loop, et cetera, that really impact West of Hudson.
Our late vice chair, I served on the ARC committee when it was a going thing, and at the end we had to decide on 3 proposals: Plan P, Plan G, and Plan S. Plan P was they build the new tunnels that come to Penn Station, end of story. Plan S, new tunnels to Penn Station, but they extend the tracks to Sunnyside Yard to get rid of the trains that they don't need in the peak hours. We all voted unanimously for Plan G, which would continue the tracks under 33rd Street, or wherever it was coming in, and then make a left turn and go up to, guess what? Right here at Grand Central. And would have allowed through running of trains. And the MTA said, no, we're not giving up anything. And they pulled out, and it became strictly a New Jersey project. And then Christine canceled it. So those tunnels would have been well along and almost ready for service by this time.
Probably.
So that's the story. And we didn't have a group like this that had people who were leading it, the organization, and others that could, step up and sound the alarm. And so MTA got away with it.
So interestingly, one of our colleagues who works at Tri-State now made some comments about the cancellation of BART and about how, that was a big blow.
I'm sorry, access to the Regions Court.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
I was looking for those who didn't know, access to the Regions Court.
She made a big cancellation about when Chris Christie decided to cancel our ARC and blah, blah. The next day she gets an email from Chris Christie. This is a month ago, right? That is not, like your revisionist history, you forgot, all of this, that New Jersey was gonna be stuck holding up bad. It was pretty deep. A passionate email, she shared it with
It is. About revisionist history, it is interesting that there are a lot of very favorable reviews of the Pulaski Skyway reconstruction, which is where a lot of the New Jersey contribution ended
That's
up.
right.
Yeah.
And so, there was something meaningful for New Jersey residents.
But they had to give a lot of money back to the feds.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just at a conference, which is why I went down to Washington, that looked at different funding. It's about infrastructure funding, both roads and bridges and transit, and challenges that states and advocates are facing, and challenges and opportunities. It looks like what we're all hoping for is that the baseline for funding will be the IIJA the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Funding levels, I don't know that any of us can count on that, but that would be an ideal base funding level that we can build off of. There seems to be a lot of highway and bridge money left that, I'm trying to find out how much of that, what pots it's in, if it can be flexed to transit, because some can, some can't. And how much of it can be just siphoned off from people who aren't doing projects to the MTA. I spoke with Kevin Owens about that yesterday. Okay, so I'm gonna pursue that with him too. Jack, you wanna add anything? On the 72 things you're working on?
Yeah, I guess broadly just starting to work on some new bill ideas for next year, opportunities to partner with, new friends from all around the region, Metro North, LARR, and city, and, tackle hopefully some long-standing issues and also make new friends in the legislature. So more on that to come. And that's all.
You're keeping a track on who's not running for your election up here. This one so far.
Well, look at because Borowski's gone.
Yeah, he's just gone.
He resigned, gone.
He has a new job already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Everything else. Jess, do you have anything you'd like to add? Jess is trapped in Florida. So,
And we, of course, nothing new from the appointments office.
No. But we can't because Westchester still hasn't submitted anybody. And now it doesn't make sense for Westchester to submit anybody until we have a new Westchester.
Well,
It takes,
the executive, well, just the deputy county executive is in office.
it's the person.
No, I understand.
Yeah. So even if, unless the deputy, well, let me rephrase that.
Well, anybody-
Rosalind has suggested, working with, was it Rockville Center or New Rochelle?
New Rochelle.
New Rochelle. So, it's worth following up with them to see if they had somebody, because they could, in Metro North, you're right, sorry, my bad. An elected official can make a recommendation,
In
which they
Westchester.
just gets the blessing of the county executive, usually before it goes up to the governor's office, so.
And Lisa, where we left this, I thought, because they said they would, find somebody and get back to us. And I thought maybe if I sent them a draft email, so can you send me an email telling me what they need to include? Because this is a new administration, they hadn't done it before. So
Sure.
that could be my way of following up by simply saying, here's a draft, fill in the blanks, or these are the components that you need to submit.
Sure. Absolutely, I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's unique for you and not for Rockland. We had
Interesting.
only a few executive any elections.
No, it is all of MNRCC.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, county executives have always been willing to find somebody.
Yeah, no, all, MNRCC is the only council that has that.
Oh, okay.
Long Island Railroad Commuter Council requires 3 names for every vacancy. And, New York City Transit Riders Council just has its own issues.
So, as you know, when the session ended last month, we didn't have a meeting since then because we, PCAC was about to come with it about the same time. So Rockland now enters its 2nd year and Orange County enters its 3rd year without having a vote on the board. Quarter vote. Turned out that the, Orange never sent any names up. And the 3 names Rockland submitted last year when the vacancy arose, early in the year, it was determined that one of the people had passed away. And so another name had to be submitted. And then according to the article in the Journal News, the governor's office wanted to appoint the number 2 and number 3 person on the list of the county executive, wanted the number 1 person, and the whole thing just sort of stayed away.
It's up to the governor.
Yeah, of course it is, but should listen to the people who.
Catch me if you can.
All right, now.
So, I like that.
Catch me if you can.
So just, there were kind of 3 operational things I was hoping to on the table to ask the staff to look at some point.
So one you sent me,
Yeah,
I have an answer for you.
okay.
And I just never sent it.
Oh, actually, I have to go, but I had just to get people thinking, in terms of like everybody's parking at the station seems to be like village owned or town owned or something. And it's like, if you don't live in that town or village, then you can't park at the train station. And how much does that deter people from taking the train? Where it's like, I can't take the train because I can't park my car at the station. You know, and I don't know what we can do about that.
In some places, that's a problem, a serious problem, and it's been that way for years.
Yeah, if you want to increase ridership, it's like make it easier for people to drive to the station, park their car.
I don't think there are spots going begging in those lots.
Well, after COVID,
it's
yes,
not, it would not
but-
be a net increase.
Yeah, well, it may not be a net increase in spaces,
Right.
but in terms of like, well, the space is there, but you're not a resident of the village of whatever, so you can't park here.
What I'm saying is I don't think there are many places in the region where they are keeping spots empty, waiting for the local resident to come in. And as an example, I'll give you White Plains Flex, the White Plains parking lot for years was residents only and had a
And one
waiting list.
adjacent to the station.
Correct. During COVID, the waiting list evaporated, and so the city very quickly pivoted, and now out-of-city residents are able to buy permits. So I think that's kind of a the challenge of access to parking is more about overall supply, not who's dividing it.
And you have still state-day parking there too.
You do, yeah.
The parking lots that Metro North runs are open to anyone without restrictions. I mean, Metro North did the best it can to deal with that problem, but when the villages own the land or the Croton on Hudson, I guess Croton on Hudson is by no means overloaded. It used to be overloaded. Now they're building solar stuff in there and everything, and they got lots of empty spaces there. So it's no longer a problem at Croton on Hudson.
Thank you for joining us today.
But it's a big problem on Long Island. I don't know if it is now because of the COVID and decreased the ridership, but it was always a big, the railroad sold when it was private. They sold off all these parking lots by the stations to the villages and the towns. And they banned anyone except, any outsiders were banned.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the situation is today out there.
You can, it depends on the place. There are some lots that keep spaces for at meter parking that you can just pay and you'd be lucky if there's a spot. There are some that are so big that they could have 1,000 more places and they still wouldn't have enough places.
Really?
From Comcoma, and then there are some that are so big and you could just park your tank in them because there are just is so much space in them. And I think that they're the ones that try to capitalize by working with the MTA to either put some retail on them or some housing.
Well,
But if there's anything specific, just let us know.
yeah, I don't have anything in specific, but I thought
Yeah, but you know,
It's a good idea.
there
Yeah.
seems to be a lot of places where it's like, if only I could park there, but you're in the middle of Rockland somewhere and you don't have access
Well,
to.
now you went, there's a lot.
And there's a Rockland lot. I don't know how full it gets.
Well, there's 3 lots. Well, you have the main lot, which is adjacent to the station, which is
Yes.
restricted to residents only. And then-
Clark's down. Then you have the
Then you have
county lot, which is
the
free.
county lot, which is free for anybody, and then we have behind the parking, behind the post office is the
Yeah.
Metro North, last parking.
For the people who don't know about the county lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Alright.
Okay, what else do we have here?
I just sent you the response on 42nd Street.
The other 2 issues I've heard from some riders that now that Long Island Railroad ridership is finally adjusted and people are actually coming into Grand Central Madison, there is a lot of pedestrian congestion on the west end exits from Grand Central, particularly the lower level. So I don't know what's physically possible there, but getting out of the lower levels apparently become more of an issue now that there are more Long Island riders, which is foreseeable.
So, I mean, going up so very few people know about the scooch onto track 112.
Right. What I've heard is that this is, people coming up from the food court on the west end. So that escalator at the far end of the food court by Veselka, that gets congested during rush hour.
Okay.
So it's something to the extent they can manage.
It's not the one that's in the far room, it's,
Right, it's the one that comes up by the transit museum.
okay, right, no, I always, everybody don't take those escalators, use the one that's in the
Well,
other.
and maybe it's an education process, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's
In the Vanderbilt room?
Yeah, I think the problem, my understanding is is that Long Island Railroad riders are bypassing the one that goes into the Vanderbilt room and coming into the lower level of Main Grand Central and coming up through there, and that's getting congested.
The other one it's like a no-brainer. Why would somebody?
Yeah, I wonder why they would do that.
So.
Because that's what
Used to
because they're
do.
still learning, or they,
And it's probably, if they're marginally closer to the office.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's.
Maybe we could
43rd Street,
do
you
better
come down.
signage or something.
Yeah, right, maybe
Yeah.
just be an
Maybe
We've
education.
talked about doing Garrett's talked about doing a white paper, so that's kind
Yeah.
of and then the governor decided to, pause congestion pricing, glue everything up, but, that would be a good component to add into that.
And the other one that's, that I've heard, so early morning riders, Metro North now doesn't open North End access until 6:30 a.m.
Right.
And, there's I've heard complaints, I think we've talked about the complaints from the Long Island people, because residential Madison now can't, easily access the transverse. So I don't know if there's anything to be done about that, but it's I haven't seen any justification for it.
We had, is either Andy or Peter spoke about that, right, at one of the last meetings, but I think they said, it was an efficiency. It was one of the efficiencies they found.
Yeah.
But, it would probably be helpful to do a count of how many efficiencies people are being efficient out there.
So the efficiency, so they cut staffing to unlock the gates, is that what they did?
Or they don't have people to clean it, or, I'm not sure, we can ask again.
They said it was pretty empty overnight, too.
Yeah, I think it's overnight, it's just like, I don't know what the train count is, but there's a not insignificant number of trains that arrive.
6:30 feels like a little late to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
At
it's
night, fine, but 6:30.
but I know, but the whole place is closed at night.
No, that's what I said.
Right,
At
so-
night, okay,
right.
but 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and it closes,
Earlier than that.
it closes at 9 p.m. or something, right?
Right, and that's still early.
It's a little late, right, but it's, right.
What time you generally leave Grand Central?
Do I leave? So I am, I'm usually in around between 7 and 7:30, and I go north, usually between 6 and 6:30.
And you're leaving at what time? In the evening? you leave?
Yeah, I usually get a 6:30 train. Hard out there,
Yeah.
Rise and grind.
It's a rough world. Randy's like, I don't know about that. I'm retired life. I had that in my list of these meetings.
The days I work, it's like 8-hour days. Occasionally it's long. I have worried over time.
I used to come in around 8:30, 8:45, and if I got out by 6:30, that was luck.
Well, ask about that again.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll look at, the signages also. Because I agree, I spent hours trying to find the most efficient and effective way to get around people.
And as people change their habits, it's gonna move. As I said, this was not a problem for the first 12 months that it was open.
Right,
It's just the last few months that, and we've seen the reports from Long Island Council that people have, that the ridership is balanced out.
Yeah.
And so it just started to happen.
it would still, I think if, when there's a better connect coming from, the other end, from the east, from, when the JP Morgan building
Yes.
is open, I
Yes.
think that will help
Yeah, I
too.
think that's right.
And that people still don't really understand the elevator system. to take them up to the street level. And I certainly know,
Based on my observations down there, I agree with that.
and I certainly can't find them ever to get back into the building.
Yeah.
So I need to always go the same way.
I was just gonna say, everyone goes and follows the crowds, so everyone just goes the same way instead of trying to figure out whatever way works better. But
Even if you go through those escalators that are up to the lower food court, you're out closer. But I have no idea, you know, it's like, you just follow, yeah, it still looks temporary.
So when I was on the train coming back, I was actually on the corridor yesterday, kind of the travel advisory about Grand Central for the San Antonio.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Planning demonstrations, so I mean, I think the fact that we are already in should affect the overall movement.
Well, maybe hopefully.
Okay, any new business?
Up
Maddie?
to new business. I'm sorry if I didn't get my hand raised. Well, in relation to new business, I want to wish everybody a happy Disability Pride Month, and on next Friday we're going to celebrate 34 years of the Americans with Disabilities Act. On behalf of the millions of Americans, we thank you for the accessibility. We had parties, we had Heart Sale and Scarsdale Station reopened. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Well, thank you, Maddie. Thank everybody who works very hard on all of those issues. I will say that our very own Kara Girl is going to be recognized as an accessibility champion.
Yeah, that's. Oh, I'm sorry to steal your thunder, Lisa. I'll let you finish speaking, then I'll finish up.
So she'll be recognized at an award ceremony on Monday.
That'll be nice. That'll be nice. I'll make Kara, if I was ever elected governor, my Secretary of Transportation.
That is a rousing endorsement. She is on her way to Korea right now.
I would, yeah, I almost want to bug her. That's such a big hurdle.
Yeah.
I think we froze already.
So if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn. We will see everybody on the 15th next month unless something,
All right.
we go to a different day. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great summer.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosalind.